Okay. So I believe that, see, there was this book that I was reading. This was one of those days where I was lying in bed when I'm supposed to be working on my video script and the content for my workshop. And I was painting my nails and reading a book and doing, and this is basically one of those things which I tell my clients never to do, that is to multitask. So I was doing a lot of these things, and there was this phone which was stuck against my ear, and I was listening to someone, actually one of my friends who had called and was going on and on and on about how she was stuck in traffic and how her mother-in-law really gave it to her today, and how her boss is the worst, and how her children are really troubling her, and yada yada yada, every complaining. And I just happened to look at the line in this book that I was reading, and it said this. It said, we develop language because of our deep inner need to complain. This is a beautiful book by Jane Bonnier called The Search for the Hidden Meaning in the Universe, a hidden life in the universe. And it really made me laugh out aloud, because I realized actually it is so true. We complain, like I said, about 50 to 60 times a day without realizing that it's a complaint. Now a lot of people come to me and they say, you know what, so what, Sheila, if we complain? I mean, we are just venting, we don't mean anything by it. Now, one of the things that I want to say is that whatever you do, whatever words you speak, which come out of your mouth, which you say in your head, they all very beautifully affect this picture which I've put up on here. Now, the first time I saw this picture, I thought it was because without my reading glasses, I thought it was a picture of a jewelry. But I realize it's not jewelry. It is the hypothalamus, the amygdala, and the thalamus. So basically what happens is every time we complain, we are focusing on the negative aspects. And there is a law of universe which says that whatever you focus on grows. Now, every time you're complaining, the hippocampus actually shrinks. And this is a study which is done by Stanford. Now, there is a lot of controversy that Stanford didn't do it, but for the benefit of this session, I'm going to assume that whatever Stanford did is right. And they said that every time we complain, the hippocampus shrinks. And this is a very scary thing, because when the hippocampus shrinks, this is the one which is responsible for our memory. And when this shrinks, this is also the area which is affected by Alzheimer's. So what I'm saying is that because we are focusing on so much of complaining, this negativity actually causes brain damage. Have I scared you all enough? If I don't scare you with science, let me scare you with some metaphysics. This is which says that what you focus on grows. So it's a very simple equation. If you're focusing on the good things in your life, the good things in your life grow. Now, if you're focusing on all the negative aspects, which is what we do with complaining, when we're focusing on all the things which are not going right in our life, we are just, what we are doing is we are getting into that downward spiral of negativity, blame, and criticism. And what happens here is we just become living, breathing crap magnets. And that's what we attract into our lives. And then we wonder why our life is not working. I have also realized one thing, that a lot of people say, I don't complain. But if you're listening to people who are complaining, that is also terrible, because complaining is contagious. And why does that happen? Little more science here. There is some sound happening.
Request Dhiren to mute himself, please, because there's a lot of different disturbance. Dhiren, thank you. Yeah, you can carry on, Sheila.
Yeah. Now, why do I say complaining is contagious? It's not just complaining, it's about everything in life. This is how we learn. This is what is known as neuronal mirroring, and they've studied it in chimps. I'm assuming that it's the same thing which happens in us humans also, where they say that if a monkey holds a banana, there is some neurons which fire in his brain. And when he sees someone else holding the same banana, the same neurons start firing. And it's the same concept which goes into complaining, because when you are in the company of other people who are complaining, there are two things that happen. One is that you also want to, someone shares their woes, we as humans, it is very natural for us to want want to share our woes and say, you think you have a problem? Look at my problems. They are much bigger than yours. And we complain. And that is where the neuron keeps firing. The other thing that happens is when we are in the company of people who are actually complaining, whether we know it or not, we are absorbing that negativity. So it is very similar to passive smoking. You stand in the company of a smoker, your lungs are getting as much affected by passive smoking. You stand in the company of people who are complaining, your life is getting affected. And I realize one thing, people complain because what they see outside is not what they expected, right? Life is not going as per the expectation, so which is why we complain. Now, one of the things, there is a difference between complaining and actually stating a fact. For instance, today, if you see the outside, the weather is very hot, so I can say it in two ways. One, I can say it's very hot outside, which is like stating a fact. The second thing I can do is I can say, it's so hot, oh my God, like my skin is being peeled off. That's complaining. So that's just a difference. There are two ways to say the same thing. Now, this is a book which is written by Reverend Will Bowen, where he talks about what are the 5 reasons that we complain. He's given a beautiful acronym called GRIPE. GRIPE as in complain, right? I love puns. So here he talks about one of the reasons why we complain is to actually get attention. We want for all the things that are going wrong because we get into that victim mode and we are complaining because we want people to validate and say that yes, it's all is not as bad as it is, and yes, we are right to feel bad and complain. So now this happens very commonly. We see it in workplaces, we see it in homes, we see it with relatives and friends who come and they complain. So there is one very easy way to deflect their attention from here, and that is when they're complaining. Let's say they're complaining about work and how the boss is really bad and how the job is really such a dead end job and they're so sick of getting stuck here. One of the ways to get them off track is to ask them very simply, so what's going right in your with your job? If they're complaining about their children, you can ask them, so what's going right with your children? Now, there are two things which can happen. One is they will look at you with that eyes which they want to roll and they'll say, haven't you been listening to anything that I'm saying? I'm telling you that my life is all shit, right? And haven't you been hearing? Or they will get distracted and they will answer you and tell you what's going right. Both ways, you win. The thing we are doing here is we are trying to ensure that other people don't complain. Yeah, and you are the average of the 5 people that you hang out with. So let's ensure that we all hang out with people who don't complain. The second reason why people complain, as per Dr. Will Bowen, is to remove responsibility. What does that mean? If they want to say that, all this is happening not because of me, it is someone else who's done it. It's like, I didn't do anything. The dog ate my homework. So what can I do? That is what is meant by remove responsibility. I want to take the responsibility away from me. Now here again, it's a very easy way to change it. You tell them, you can ask them something like, if it were really possible, what would you do? How would you do it? This works very beautifully with people who complain about how they cannot get a particular job done because of various things. For instance, let's take the example today where recording couldn't happen and someone went missing in action. So we could have gotten into the spiral of saying, you know what, it is not my issue. I don't know how to record because we don't have the complaints. We have to give it off. It has to be given off. Gaurav has all the control. Now Malini did it very beautifully, where she said, okay, if it were possible to record, what is it can I do? Can I log in with my accountancy? So that is what happens. So when people come here and they complain about how things are not working out, one of the questions that you can ask is, if it were possible, how would you do it? And that's one of the ways to do it. The third reason why we complain is to inspire envy or brag. What do I mean by this? Most of the time we complain about someone else, it is a way of saying that I'm better. Like how you say, he's always late. Oh my God, which is another way of saying, I'm so much more better. I'm always on time. The other, so it is a way of saying that you are superior to the other person. Now here again, it's a very easy way to deflect that complaining. What you do is, let's say someone comes to you and say, you know what, he's always late. You can deflect it by complimenting the opposite by saying, isn't it so great that you're always on time? You see what I'm saying? See, I can't see any of the chat box, so I don't know if you're saying anything. I really don't know if you're saying anything. If you have, we'll keep the questions to the last.
Yeah, we're following Sheila, no problem.
Okay. The P stands for power. That means someone thinks that you have the ability to change something in their life, which is why they will come and they will hand you over the power by complaining about everything that is going wrong in their life. Now, the easiest way to notice this is what children do. When two children are fighting, the first thing they do is when they want to complain about the other sibling, they will come and make the mother or the father the referee. So as humans, we feel really excited if someone gives us the power. It makes us feel important. Let's be honest here. We feel good. We feel good. We feel like, wow, we are now on a superior plane. But the thing is with complaining is never get involved. Never get involved. So the only thing that you can do here is direct them to take that complaint which they have to the people who can change it. How does this work? For instance, see, people complain about their bosses to their spouse, and they complain about their spouse to their friends. They complain to their friends about their mother-in-law. So the thing is, the person who is the problem, you never address them directly. And because of this long circle that you do, you wonder why your problems are not getting solved. Now, if you have a problem with your boss, you have to go and speak to the boss. That is not complaining. When you're speaking to the boss about an issue that you have, that is taking back your power. When you have a problem with your partner and you speak to him or her about it, that is power. You have a problem with your mother-in-law or your father-in-law and you go and speak to them, that is power. Similarly, you have a problem with a hotel and you don't need to go out and write it, tweet it out or do any of those things. You can speak to the hotel manager, right? So that's very simple. So if you get embroiled in any this kind of a battle, all you have to do is tell them very politely, listen, I'm not the person who can take any decisions. Why don't you go and speak to that other person? Because we are very, very uncomfortable having these uncomfortable conversations. So it is time that we decide that enough is enough, and it's important to speak up when we need to instead of shutting up. The last reason, one of the reasons which is said why we complain is to excuse poor performance. That's where we say, you know what, I didn't get the promotion because some excuse, whatever the excuse is. This is also the excuse of where, let's say, I couldn't submit my homework online, my assignment online, because you know what, I don't have an internet. Yesterday I used this with Indira, where I told her I can't send you my PPT as yet because my laptop has crashed. So the thing is here, when there is people try to excuse their poor performance by complaining, there's only one question that you ask, saying, how do you plan to do it the next time you have to do it? Now, if you look at it, all these things which I'm telling you, they're very simple. They're very simple questions that you ask. And these are very simple questions that you can ask yourself. Because when you're complaining, when you realize that you're complaining, one of the things that you can do is get into this gripe mode and say, what is the reason that I'm complaining? Is it to get attention? Is it because I don't want any responsibility? Do I feel like bragging about myself? Do I want to hand over my power to someone else? Or is this because I'm scared that I'm not performing as well and it's better to make an excuse right away? I now Will Bowen, Reverend Will Bowen is a very interesting guy. He said this in a book. It really, some of these guys, I find them so hilarious. He says complaining is like bad breath. We only notice it when it comes out of someone else's mouth. The thing is, if you introspect, you will realize that we all complain. So
Sheila,
how,
I'm going
what
to,
is
sorry for
the,
interrupting.
how is it that we can stop complaining? Now, I have a beautiful tool which I have used very successfully with lot of my clients, and I call it the crib jar. So it's very simple. All you do is you take a glass jar. I like my things very beautiful, so I try to see that I have an aesthetically pleasing jar. So you can also take any jar. Now you need not complain saying I don't have any jar. Okay, if there's no jar, take any dabba, and then we'll do it within that. So you take this jar, you put a nice label here saying crib jar. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to become very conscious of how many times we complain. So every time you complain, you put money into this, equivalent to how much you would pay for a coffee. Now, again, here, be honest, because this is for ourselves, right? So if you're used to going and having a Starbucks coffee, put in your 400 or 500 bucks here. If you're doing the Udupi coffee, don't say just because you have to put money in this, don't say I will pretend that I'm going and having Udupi coffee. No, you put in as much as you have would pay for a coffee, put it into this jar. Every time you complain during the day, put money into the jar. And at the end of the day, donate this money. Take a moment to look at how much money, how much you have complained during the day, and then give the entire thing away. When you have to give away the money, it really, really, really brings you to your senses. And the next day, you will realize that you're complaining lesser and lesser. And you'll think twice before you actually start complaining. The script jar is an extremely effective way of stopping your complaints. And especially because you can see it, you actually see how much you are. The first time that I started putting money in my crib jar, I realized that I was giving away about 5,000 or 6,000 is what I gave away the first time, I think, when I did it. And every day when you're giving 5,000, 6,000, which you're giving, no matter how generous and giving you feel, it pinches. It definitely pinches. So that's
It's
all
a
I have for you
good
today.
concept.
Any questions? Let me put my earphone on.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Sheila, for wrapping up on time, even though we started off late.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I have a question. This is Srivatsa. Can you repeat the name of the author of the Gripe model?
Reverend Will Bowen.
Can you spell the last name, please?
Bowen.
Thank you so much.
Now, Reverend Will Bowen is the one who started the rubber band method. I don't know if you know about it, the elastic method. In his church, in order to help people stop complaining, he gave them all rubber bands. And he said, every time you complain, pull that and release it. So that pain, you'll remember that pain. Next time you are complaining, that pain is there. So it was a very successful model, which a lot of trainers have been using it in their various courses to remember how to stop negative thinking, remember to drink water, remember how to feel happy. So complaining, this really works. Pull the elastic band and leave it. I don't want to make it so painful for you, so I gave you a little easier method.
Sheila, there are a few questions in the chat box.
So let me just look at the chat box here.
So are you able to see the chat box?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Okay. It's how about mental cribbing? Is that the first one, or where's the first one?
See, one is by Amit. He says, complain about situations like COVID situation to China. Where to direct?
Okay. Okay, Amit. Here, let's say the COVID situation. There are two questions you can ask, and this is actually based on the Serenity Prayer, which says that help me change things that I can change. give and help me accept the things that I cannot change, and give me the wisdom to recognize the difference. Now, you're directing it to China. Will it help? I don't think so. What can you learn from the COVID situation is what you have to ask. Now, instead of saying, "Oh my God, I cannot go out. My jobs are all in a mess. Economy is in a bad shape," it's not going to help anyone. We all know that. What what benefit is it reiterating the same thing over and over again, except increasing, giving more energy to the negative? So that's a simple thing, which is why they say that even listening to negative news actually shrinks your hippocampus by about 20%. So if you listen to news regularly, it happens. The next one is
Sheila,
how.
I have a
Yeah.
question here.
Yes,
Oh,
Malini, right?
okay, I'm sorry. Um, yeah. See, the jar method, the crib jar method, as much as it appears very interesting and a very expensive lesson, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think it's a very coercive procedure because it's like, you're lashing yourself with a stick, all
Yes.
right? So, do you think the mind actually accepts that kind of a methodology when you want a behavioral change in you?
Okay. That's a lovely question, and I'm glad you asked it. This is something that I've been thinking about. Now, the thing is, complaining is a habit, and
Mhm.
it's any habit. It cannot be wished away by magic. Habits have to be replaced by a better habit. Now, this putting money in every time you complain is training your brain, retraining your brain to say that, listen, there is a price to pay for. You're reminding yourself there's a price to pay for complaining. Now, the price that you're paying for complaining is not just monetary, you're paying for it with your health. So, putting that money in is a physical, actual reminder that, you know what, it's time for you to stop complaining. So it's just replacing one habit with a much better habit. It's and coercive, of course it is. If a complaining is so deeply ingrained in us, I think it needs a tough habit to remove it, right? So I think it should. It's not self-flashing, absolutely not self-flashing, because here you're just putting. It's very painful to see money go away.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, makes
Would we
sense.
call it as an intervention, Sheila? Can it be called as an intervention, a method of an intervention, so that you can redirect a habit?
Yeah, of course it is. Right. It is. All these are interventions. I'm a very
Yeah, Sheila,
I
this
don't
is
have.
Srivatsa.
Yeah, hi Srivatsa.
I'd like to just comment on it. I don't mean to be argumentative or argue
Yeah.
against you. I've got nowhere the amount of experience in this area as you have. Um, rather than view it as self-flagellation, as Malini was trying to paint it or was viewing it,
Mhm.
I'd say it's something like the rubber band.
Yes.
I got introduced to this rubber band many years ago, more as becoming aware of my own emotions as part of an EI workshop,
Mm.
right? And it's just a question of making a choice.
Mm.
Instead of putting money in a jar, you do push-ups, whatever.
Yeah.
But so long as you say there is a price to pay apart from just venting and complaining,
Yeah.
and if you think that you're willing to pay that price and still complain, go ahead. Do those 20 push-ups and complain.
Mm.
Or put the money in and then complain.
Yes.
But pay the consequence first, or rather the pre-sequence, not subsequently, but whatever. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. See, this is it's all I'm saying is these are all different methods of changing that habit. The rubber band method, for instance, is it's a physical pain that you're creating so that you remember that you shouldn't do any of those things which are harming you. This is just another way. I found this is a fun method of doing it, and especially because people groan when they have to do it. Now, doing push-ups again is an excellent example. Now, the other day there was this client of mine where I've introduced her to the crib jar, and she said, I complained, but I didn't put money in the jar. So while we were on the coaching call, I told her, all you have to do is wait. Now just get up, take that money, and she earns in Singaporean dollars. I said, go take that dollars and go give it to your maid right now. So she said, oh my God, she's going to be very happy, and I'm going to be really unhappy that I'm paying her. But she did that. But the thing is that it is a reminder. You can use any of the methods as long as you are aware, because awareness is the first step to change. The moment you are aware that this is what you're doing, you will change automatically. It's just taking us from autopilot to a more conscious way of living. Yes. There's Amit says the story. Yeah. Amit, would you like to unmute yourself and speak about it? Yes.
Hello. Yeah. Hi. First, Sheila, this is an interesting session, and you've explained things very well. Gripe model, it was new for me. So thank you very much for that. Since Malini just mentioned about the positive way of creating an intervention, so and this probably something like you're punishing yourself, right? And as you know, the brain thinks normally in a way where brain likes to have something which gives it gifts, or which I mean, it doesn't like getting punishments, basically. So that's how our brains work. So there was a story of a child who was playing, and there were complaints and things like that, and he was talking. His dad observed it, and dad said, "No, you have complaints about this. This doesn't work. This is not right. This is something." So every time you feel bad about it, complaints about people, complaints about anyone, what you do is you hang a nail in the wall. So you get, this is the corner, this is the wall, and you just put a nail there. And let us talk about it after a week. A week later, when he saw the wall with so many nails, and he said, "Now remove the nails." The nails were removed, and see, the wall is damaged. So then he realized, oh, if I complain, there is an impact there.
Yeah.
So that way, the person got realized, oh, if I don't complain, then there will be fewer nails, and then the wall will be beautiful. It will still remain better. There will be less scars.
Correct.
So basically, one of the ways of doing it. I mean, of course, crib jar is. I'm not complaining about the method. There can be ways. One can be more innovative in it. If they don't want to say, you can probably put a complaint. I complained once.
Yeah.
I complained once. You put a cheat in the crib jar instead. You don't want to pay money or something like that. And then you can also say that, okay, I complained 10 times. I spend 10 hours in a week for social service, something like that. You can always be innovative. Individually, one can think of.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, the only important thing here is that you be aware.
Yes,
And I
that is very
believe that the brain
important.
we learn more through pain than by pleasure.
Right.
So while the rewarding the brain becomes very important to create that habit of gratification for something good that you know, the first way that we learn is actually by pain, which is why when we reach a point of pain in our life, that's when we actually start looking for help. When we are really very happy, let's say you're living in Hawaii and there's a beautiful ocean and warm breeze and a hammock over there, we can do any of the things which are supposed to be good for us. Let's say meditate, get up early, do any of those things, right? Because you are already in heaven. Why do you need to do anything? So the moment the pain comes, and let's say the tornado hits over there, that's when you start going down on your knees and praying. So this is just a different way. Like Jagan.
Good evening, Sheila.
Sorry, yeah.
Tirumali, yeah?
Tirumala. Yeah.
Good evening, Sheila. Yeah, good evening.
Yeah.
Your voice was breaking again.
Oh.
I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah.
Am I audible to you, Sheila?
Yeah, very clearly.
Yeah, good. I was just looking at, what you mentioned was 5 reasons we comply, right?
Yeah.
One reason getting for want of attention, the first one getting attention.
Yes.
Is that because, in the formation days of a child, because due to lack of attention while he's growing up, and therefore he grows up with that craving for getting for an attention, is that one of the reasons could be that, why even after growing up, someone is seeking that attention?
Yeah, could be, absolutely. See, we are not taught to be self-sufficient. Right from childhood, we had to cry to get attention. We have to fall ill to get attention. You have to have bad behavior to get attention. So we got used to that kind of a method.
Environment.
Yeah, which is why I believe that you have to teach children self-love, self-esteem right from PP1. Where you say, okay, I'm enough. I don't have to cry and make a noise. I can ask for what I want in a firm voice. That's what I meant by taking your power back. We have to realize that we have a lot of power. It's just that we don't know how to use it. We think that only by whining, cribbing, and complaining we are going to get it.
Yeah, I understand that point of view. But how about, if with such person, if you can have a conversation that, you're grown up and you're very competent and you're self-sufficient now, you don't need that kind of attention. So perhaps you can, get attention for, by doing better things than complaining. Having a kind of a conversation, holding space for him and then having a conversation would help them to reflect and realize that, yeah, I can still get attention by not complaining, but by doing something good, by doing something great. So there are very many ways of getting attention. So if you can hold a conversation on those lines, I'm sure certainly it helps the person to transform.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to talk about the positive intervention. Healthy conversation, holding space for someone, and trying to give them that perspective that maybe now you're grown up, you're self-sufficient, you don't need any more such attention, and or if at all you need attention, you can do better things to get attention than complaining. Thank you.
Because we were all brought, I think most of us were brought up with the power of the chappal, I think. So that method sinks in much faster for us. Now, having a conversation and getting them to change is a very long process. It's very good for coaches, but if you and this is basically not something that I would advise you to give it for your clients or any of this. I'm saying use this for yourself and see how is it that you can change. You can use it for any.
Just a thought that I thought of sharing, the possibility of trying to help the person too. And the last one which you talked about, I'm sorry. The last one, excuse poor performance. Talk about poor performance. In that context, the person is focusing on the external locus of control.
Yes.
Maybe if we can have a conversation and talk about the importance of internal locus of control, or maybe circle of control.
Yes.
Perhaps you would not take excuses, or you would not complain about external factors. Maybe you'll start looking inwards and then focus on his circle of control, and therefore he start performing and become better at it instead of complaining.
Which is why the remedy, so to speak, over there is to just ask them, if you could do it better, how would you do it? And that's where you're giving back the power to them and saying, okay, now you think about it. I found that one of the things that we do is the moment we are told to do something, we think of 1,500 reasons why that thing cannot be done. And
circle of no control.
Yeah. So you change that conversation and say, okay, fine. If you could do it, how would you do it? It's the same way when people say, you know what, I don't know. When you say, I don't know, the question that I ask them is, if you could know, or someone else came to you with the same issue, how would you advise them? We know how to help other people very well.
Yeah, we are good at advising and giving free suggestions, you see.
Absolutely.
And that comes so natural.
Yeah.
Great, Sheila. Very insightful session. I really learned. Thank you a lot for value addition.
Very much. Any other questions? Did I miss any questions?
Yeah, Sheila, I think 1 second, let me just go back. I think Avani had a question. How about mental cribbing?
Yeah. Okay, this is a question which a lot of people ask me. I tell them that even if you're complaining in your mind, it is complaint. So because a lot of people say, I don't speak. There are a lot of these introverts who don't speak at all. And everything is suppressed inside. That is also complaint. Put it in the jar or do any one of the interventions that we've been speaking about. Mental cribbing is as bad as the one that you vocalize, if not more.
Okay, I think that answered Avni's question. Thank you, Sheila. I think there's one more question. Talking to someone about someone else, can this also be called sharing? I think he means complaining.
It cannot be. It is not sharing. Talking about someone else without that person being present is gossiping, and it is not acceptable. See, that is the cause of most of the issues in the world, right? Like I was saying, we never complain to the person, never speak to the person directly. even our children. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with my daughter, and she was telling me, "Oh my God, you're such a bad communicator." And I said, "What? You calling me a bad communicator? You don't know how to communicate. I have to go to a therapist to understand how to handle my mother." So I said, "Okay, great." I said, "It's great that you're going to a therapist." I said, my
Wow.
identification is with, in my coaching, I feel I do." She said, yeah, you do a good job with other people, but with your children, you don't know how to communicate at all." I said, "Okay, fine. Okay, then I'll go back and, you know what, maybe I have these problems. Maybe I'm not a good mother." She said, no, you're a good mother, but you're a bad communicator." But the thing is, if she has told me directly, it is a conversation. I mean,
Right.
try to have a conversation. But if she had spoken, let's say, to her brother or to her cousins or to her friends and say, "You know what, this is what my mother is," then it becomes complaining. So you need to have these conversations are uncomfortable, absolutely uncomfortable. We've been taught to be nice to people and not really be, ride
Yeah.
roughshod. I think if you can do it with awareness and with compassion, it becomes a beautiful conversation, however uncomfortable.
Right. That's a very nice example you shared with us. Thanks, Sheila.
Sheila, there's one more
Um,
question on the chat window
Yeah.
from Somali. From Somali, she asked if there are any benefits of complaining.
I thought that was a joke. That's why I didn't
Yeah.
read it.
I try to answer that saying that maybe as good as smoking, which gives temporary relief.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jagan. I'm saying complaining gives us temporary, it's like eating that cheeseburger or having that cigarette, temporary relief. Long term, no good benefits. See, if Stanford tells you it causes you brain damage, you bloody well listen to it. That's where it is. I'd like to actually end the session with a story it's a short story. So this is about this guy, a construction worker. Every day, these construction workers during after lunchtime, they would sit down to have lunch together. So this guy would open his lunch box and he'll say, "Oh, turkey sandwich again." The next day again he opened it and he said, "Oh, turkey sandwich again. Oh my God, I cannot believe this." The third day he opened, he said, "Oh my God, turkey sandwich again." And then his co-worker said, "You know what? Why don't you change it? Who packs your lunch box?" So he said, "Well, I pack it." So the thing is, most of the time we bring it upon ourselves. We are aware everything else in the world will get sorted on its own.
That's a nice note to end on, actually. That's a nice example. Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. Do we have any other questions for Sheila? Yeah, looks like that's it. Thanks for a very insightful session and with great examples, I must say. They were very, very easy to connect with. So thank you so much.
And thank you, guys. Thank you for showing up and interacting. It was really good.
Yeah. Okay. So there are a few messages for you in the chat box. If you want to open and see them, they're just thanking you for your session. So
Thank you, Sheila. I just said that ultimately it is Man Ki Baat.
Ah.
I mean, actually, I use a lot of pun. Man Ki Baat is actually monkey.
Yes.
Mind is a monkey, and monkey. I mean, I generally use a lot of phonetics to humor myself, actually, and as well as trying to catch myself, actually.
Oh, Malini says it's not a rental also for the nails, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, thank you, Sheila. That was awesome, actually.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I think we can now end this.
Yeah, right, Sheila.
How's this?
Have a great time. Bye-bye.
Thirmal, bye. Thank you very much. Thank you, Indira.
Yeah, you're welcome, Sheila. Absolutely my pleasure. Okay, see you then. Bye-bye.